Hello everyone, welcome back. This is the video for Accounting 210 of chapter 9. So in the previous videos, we talked about sales budget and then production budget. We did some practice. So today we will focus on the other budget of the operating budget. So once we got the production, you know there are three parts in the production cost. We call it direct material, direct labor, and then manufacturing overhead, right? Um, so direct material budget is very similar with the production budget. It's very similar with the production budget. So you also have the quantity of the direct material used for the production plus the ending inventory, just in case you produce more and then you will need more material. So you want to have um, some safety stock of your material. So that will be your total quantity of material needed. You also have a beginning inventory, so you subtract the beginning inventory, you get the quantity of direct material to purchase. So I'm not going to really read these 5 steps. I don't think I will really ask you to do calculation in the exam, like a big question. But let's go to look at the numbers together. Let's look at the numbers together. How do the textbook get all these numbers? Okay, I'll make the numbers a little bit larger. So we have January, we have February, we have a March, and then we also have the first quarter, right? All of our production, we should focus on production now. We should focus on production now because your direct labor, direct material, and manufacturing overhead, they all related with the production you need. So we calculated January, we need to produce 29,000 units. You said, oh, I don't remember. Then you can go to this page. You should know we have to produce 29,000 units in January. But how many material we need, right? What's the we want to produce tortilla, we need to have some flour, we need to have some sugar, spicy. So how about the material? We said in order to make 1 case of the tortilla, you need to have 5 pounds. You need to have 5 pounds of flour, right? So total flour you need will be 145,000 pounds. So we focus on how many pounds our direct material will be. We need 145,000 pounds for our January production. We said we want to have 10% of next month, the pounds, as our ending inventory for January. So we did the calculation for February. We will do, kind of that. So you still use the units times the pounds. So for February, you need 102,500 pounds. So 10% of that number will be your ending inventory of January direct material. So your January, the pounds you need for direct material will be 155,250. And then beginning inventory, we basically said is your 10% of your this month, the pound of direct material. So 10% will be 14,500 pounds. So you totally need these pounds. You already have that as your beginning inventory. So you need to purchase 140,750 pounds. And each pound is cost $1.5. So totally you have to spend $211,125 for the direct material in January. Okay, and then you can see it's still kind of like 10% of your inventory for this month will be your beginning inventory. 10% of your next month will be your ending inventory. So point out one more time, we said beginning of the quarter, when you do the quarter, beginning of the quarter will also be the beginning of January. Ending of the quarter will also be the ending of March. Okay, so that's the also second thing you want to know. So as I say, this is how do you get a direct material budget. It's kind of a fancier fancier production budget. So, but the logic is very similar. So next one, we talk about direct labor. Once we have the material, we have to use people to work for us, right? So how do we get our direct labor budget with a dollar amount? The general idea is we said, hey, you need to produce many units of the products of your products, and then one how for each unit you need to have how many hours, so you got total hours of the direct labor, and then time the hourly rate, you get the dollar amount for your direct labor. So let's look at one example. Said one case of tortilla need 0.05 hour, and then labor will be $22 per hour. So we do January. If we do January, we will totally produce 29,000 units. Each unit just takes 0.05 hour. So we totally have to spend 1,450 hours to produce 29,000 units. And each hour we pay $22. So totally we have to pay $31,900 in January. So we do the same for February, we do the same for March. And then for the first quarter, there is no beginning inventory or ending inventory. We just add everything to be our quarterly number. Straightforward, right? The next one, we will talk about manufacturing overhead budget. I'm just looking at what else do we have. Oh my goodness, a lot of things. I may have another short video. Okay, so next one, we got our operating overhead, manufacturing overhead budget. We got manufacturing overhead budget. As I say, I'm not really going to let you do the number in the exam, but we go through some details so you have a better understanding. We said other things, what's the manufacturing overhead? Now you should really know, right? All the manufacturing costs that is not directly related with, not direct labor, not direct material. So we say you have oil to fry this, salt. So those are indirect material, so we calculated, we said everything together, we need $1.25 for one case. We need $1.25. So totally you have 29,000 cases. For those spicy indirect material, you need $36,250. And then we also have other manufacturing overhead. We said the utility, indirect labor. So those are things, indirect labor like the supervisor, we said, right? Or the quality control, those people, or the security guy, you cannot really directly trace those labor. So we have those things we found out for indirect labor for one case, we need 75 cents. For the utility, for one case, we need 50 cents. So we got those three parts, right? Indirect material, indirect labor, and then also other manufacturing overheads such as the utility. So what should we do? Those are the variable costs. Then we just add those things to our January, February, and March. We list it like this. Units we will produce, we said indirect material, we calculated like the salt, like the oil. Indirect labor, we calculated 21,750. And then we said the variable manufacturing overhead, like the utility, we said 50 cents per case. So total will be 14,500. We got our total variable manufacturing overhead for January, for February, for March, and we add everything, we got our first quarter. We also have fixed manufacturing overhead, right? So we said the depreciation, insurance, indirect labor, and then utility, the fixed part. The only thing I want to point out is a fixed cost. So you can see every month is the same. January 10,000, February 10,000, March 10,000. So every month is 30,000 fixed manufacturing overhead. This is because it's fixed. So our total first quarter will be 90,000. So your variable manufacturing overhead plus your fixed manufacturing overhead gives you total manufacturing overhead for January, for February, for March, and also for your first quarter. Okay, so I stop here. So this video we talk about the three detailed parts: direct material, direct labor, and then manufacturing overhead budget. I hope you have a better understanding for each budget, and let me know if you have any question. I'll see you next time, then we will finish the first operating budget.